Hey, Jamie, it's great to meet you, especially somebody that majored in the same thing I did at Framingham State. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, it's great to meet a fellow comm arts major from FSU now. I was going to say FSC, but that's how old I
Yeah,
am. I remember the FSC days.
a lot of people say that back when it was Framingham State College, and the university has a nice ring to it, doesn't it?
It does. It does. It really, it's a nice, I think it sounds a lot nicer. And, I like where they're going at Framingham State. So it's great.
So you have a very interesting story about your time there at Framingham State.
Yes, I so Framingham State was, it took me a while to get out of Framingham State, I guess. I paid for my own college. So I had two or three jobs and then had to quit like a little before my senior year to kind of help pay for everything and get more money and then go back to finish. So it was a long haul for me, but it was a great experience. I had some very understanding professors in the comm arts department who let me come back into my major after I had completed 90% of it, but you needed a certain GPA that I didn't have, so they let me come back in with a lower GPA so I could finish out my degree, which was great. It was a great experience.
I believe adversity is good. So, I mean, you went through that. When you're now older, you realize how young you are, even when you're in college. So, you went through some adversity, but I'm sure it really built a lot of character for you.
It did, and that was the big thing. I had a tough time. I went through a lot of adversity when I was at Framingham State. There was a lot of growing. I was very immature at those days, early 20s, still trying to figure things out. But I had some very understanding professors there. And that's something I've always taken with me, that forgiveness of, it's not that I did anything like super bad. It's just I wasn't going to class.
Yeah.
But they were super understanding. I had a lot going on in my family life, and they understood that, and they stuck by me, and it enabled me to graduate, which, it was just such a blessing that they did that. It was great.
I think what you're doing now is fantastic. I see you work for biotech. I actually have type 2 diabetes, and
Ah,
you're working on a cure for type 1. So just to see someone involved in that means a lot to me, and it's going to mean a lot to people who are watching this.
yeah. And, type 2 is around the corner as well. I think there'll be something for you. But what we do at Vertex, the company that I'm currently at, is we're taking stem cells, blank stem cells, and imprinting, insulin markers onto them, and then
Wow.
injecting them into people who are born with with type 1 diabetes that are insulin deficient. So it is amazing what the technology that can be used. And we've had our first patient treated, and he is basically cured, which is
Wow.
amazing. Like, this isn't a treatment, this is a cure. And the ramifications for that for millions of people, it's just so exciting. And that's why I love being in biotech and working this job I've worked at several different companies around the Boston area, and a lot of what they do is just really groundbreaking and affects people's lives, and I'm just so fortunate to be part of it.
There's obviously good and bad about technology, but what I love about technology is that I've heard from doctors, they've told me that this is kind of a breakthrough now in the medical field in the next 15, 20, but currently right now, but we're going to see some major changes.
Absolutely. And what they're coming with after mapping, the human genome, and then there's companies out there mapping the gut biome that I've worked for, that, the ramifications for that, for food allergies even,
Wow.
is enormous. But I think we are going to see, like you said, within the next 10 to 15 years, cures for things that we never thought were possible because of, cell technology and things that we are now understanding about the human body, and that we can do in a non-invasive way. That's the best part. We can take our own cells or take blank stem cells
Hmm.
and inject them in. And so there's no side effects. It's just like having your own cells in your body, which is fantastic.
So some of the notes I got on you too, that you finished a manuscript that you hope gets published, and we're hoping you do too.
Well,
Yeah.
actually, it is published
Oh,
now,
good.
believe it or not. It's up on Amazon. I've been working in the criminal justice space as well, volunteering. That's not really stuff you get paid for,
Yeah.
but I was researching Massachusetts drug lab scandal, which, do you want me to go through the history of that, or
Sure. Yeah.
the contents of it is? Yeah, it happened in 2012. A chemist named Annie Dukin worked for the state crime lab, and it had turned out she was manipulating testing results to help prosecutors win cases.
Wow.
And that's not the story that the state has been telling us. That, like, no one really knows that unless they listen to my podcast Rigged, or or have read my book. That the official state story is that she was just rushing and not doing her job correctly, but it turns out, I researched it. I did some Freedom of Information Act requests with the Attorney General's office and with a couple different agencies, and found that she was actually very, very for the prosecutors, and was actually in love with one of the prosecutors, which was crazy.
Mm.
And yeah, there's some drama there. It wasn't exactly like The Bachelor level, but it was pretty dramatic. And yeah, she got found out rigging evidence to convict people who, it turns out, were innocent. There was one person, the lawyer that I work with, who does the podcast with me, represented a person who were sent to jail for almost 3 years for possession of a cashew.
Wow.
That the state said was crack cocaine, but it was actually a cashew.
Geez, I never knew those cashews were like that.
Gives you a whole new idea about a cashew.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So, boy, if you look back at your life, Framingham State really kind of helps, right? If all that didn't work out for you, who knows?
I wouldn't be where I am right now without Framingham State, without the experience, the friends that I met there, what I went through. It wasn't a normal road. It wasn't just the 4-year college road, as I was saying. I had to do a lot on my own. I didn't get a lot of support from my parents or family. So I had to, work several jobs and really, like, figure out what it was that I wanted as a person at a very young age. And that that maturity is something that I needed. And like I said, so the people at Framingham State could have told me when I screwed up and I wasn't getting good grades that I had to start all over and pick a new major, and I wasn't able to get back into my major, but they allowed me back into my major. And that was a huge, huge learning experience for me. And it really kind of instilled in me the belief to, like, never give up on myself.
Yeah.
And that has translated very well into my adult life, as this manuscript that I've written has taken about 7 years to write.
Mm.
And I've been told no by publishers. I've been told no by, pretty much, excuse me, everyone that I've brought this to. And I didn't want to give up. I didn't give up. And I made sure I kept pushing and pushing and pushing until I got someone to help me publish this, which was a major achievement for me. And the same went for biotech. When I started my biotech career, I was mopping floors, overnights at a facility because I didn't have any experience. And now I'm
Wow.
associate director with Vertex all these years later, because I didn't give up on it. I knew that this was something that I wanted to do. And I pushed myself, and just like I pushed myself in college to achieve what I wanted to achieve.
Well, Jamie, on behalf of the entire Alumni Relations Office, I can speak for them. We're very proud of you. And thanks for joining me on this. Great story.
Thank you very much for having me. It was great.